Hello and welcome to PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Hartitz, and today we continue the Fantasy Files series with a look at this Buffalo Bills backfield. Zack Moss, Devin Singletary, Matt Breida now no longer TJ Yeldon. So look, looking back at the 2020 Bills, there's like nothing to be mad about. This team was one win away from getting to the Super Bowl, number 2 ranked scoring offense, Josh Allen, MVP runner-up. It's a great time to be alive. You know, we'll keep the whole thing optimistic, but particularly to be a Bills fan. And I think the only one thing, if we wanted to really be a dick here, the one negative from the 2020 Bills was the fact they could not enable a consistent running back. And it doesn't make sense because, again, they check all these boxes. They had an MVP candidate quarterback. They had the number 2 ranked scoring offense. In terms of point differential, only the Ravens, the Saints, the Packers, and the Buccaneers were more dominant than the Bills during the regular season. So we had a great offense that was consistently up on the scoreboard, winning a bunch of games, and we just didn't get anything out of these running backs in Fantasyland. Overall, at the end of the season, Devin Singletary was the PPR RB32, despite playing all 16 games. Zack Moss only the RB48. Playing 13 games. So, what went wrong? Not exactly on these running backs in particular. As we always talk about on here, volume tends to trump talent. And it's not like they just couldn't do anything with their chances. I mean, Zack Moss basically emerged as, I don't want to say a poor man's 3-down back. He can do whatever you want him to do on all 3 downs. This was from our 2020 NFL draft guide on Moss. Moss ticks pretty much every box you'd like to see at the running back position, except for speed. He's got the size, vision, hands, and especially elusiveness. He's also been above average in pass protection consistently over the course of his career. While he's on the older side, 22 years old already, we're not really drafting for anything after the rookie contract here anyways. Others might chase high-end physical traits at the top of the draft, but give me the guy I know will break tackles in the NFL. That's Moss to a T from the always fantastic Mike Renner. Now, look, people, the pass protection point is spot on. I was digging through some of Moss's plays from last year, and they were facing the Chargers in week 12 and Josh Allen on the goal line because, they seem to want to throw touchdowns to all their tight ends or random offensive linemen once they get inside the 5. Anyway, Josh Allen, play action. Joey freaking Bosa, one of the best defensive ends in the league, comes flying through basically untouched, and Zack Moss takes him out. He went low on him. This was not, who did Sean Merriman so bad. When Maurice Jones-Drew just clocked Sean Merriman, hit him high and put him down. It wasn't quite that. It was more of a cut block situation, but it was violent. It was fast. It was a lot of fun to watch. And that's why Zack Moss, I think of this group, has the best chance of maintaining a 3-down workload. We haven't quite seen that yet. Singletary has been the guy over the past 2 years they've leaned on more times than not, although we had some injuries kind of influence that in 2020. More on that in a bit. Just realize, people, the Zack Moss, the pass protection thing, PFF 6th highest graded pass blocker among 47 qualified backs. I know it's something that we don't pay a lot of attention to in Fantasyland. Unfortunately, we don't get, fantasy points for pancakes or anything like that. Just realize that Moss, I think if we can say that they're pretty equal receivers, which checks out on the metrics, I think Moss has the best chance to be that 3-down guy because of what he's already proven as a pass protector. The Bills are about to have probably not 900 million, at least 100 million reasons to, make sure Josh Allen is upright. And Moss certainly put a good, first year of film forward, stating that he could maybe be that guy out there on the field more times than not. But then we have Devin Singletary, and I'm just going to go through the PFF rushing grade and a few other stats from Singletary and Moss last year, because Singletary, while he didn't, rise to the occasion quite as much as a pure rusher in terms of PFF grade, Zack Moss was tied for 19th among 47 backs. Singletary was 32nd. He was consistently very slippery. I mean, missed tackles forced per carry. Singletary was tied for 9th in this 47-back sample. Moss was tied for 14th. Yards per carry, Moss was tied for 27th. Singletary was tied for 25th. Yards after contact per rush, Moss tied for 25th. Singletary tied for number 11. So Singletary, he's not a big guy at all, but you can see why the Bills have felt pretty comfortable leaving him on the field for extended stretches. He does everything fine. Maybe doesn't do anything exceptionally well. It's like the, what's the phrase? not a master of none. You can do all the things. You guys know what I'm talking about. Jack of all trades, master of none. There we go. Good job, Ian. But basically with Singletary, I mean, in 4 playoff games, he's played 76% snaps, 66%, 86%, 53%. The problem is the Bills have just been so clear that they don't really care how much he's playing. They're not going to go out of their way to give him the ball. In those games, last year in 2019, the playoffs, he actually had a 19 touch game and not lost the Texans. But this year, 6, 10, and 8 touches in 3 games, despite getting those gaudy snap rates. That's going to be a sheesh from me, people. But look, here's the thing, though. Singletary and Moss, as I said before, they aren't bad running backs by any stretch of the imagination. It would be hard for any running back to thrive in Buffalo with Josh Allen there, unless they are the only running back just getting fed like 100% of the backfield touches, because usually we can live with 2 running back backfields. Almost every team is a committee these days. And if it's down to 2, we can usually at least come close to figuring that out. The problem, and look, I love Josh Allen. You love Josh Allen. Bills fans love Josh Allen. Moss and Singletary fantasy truthers do not love Josh Allen because this guy just has been so good at everything except enabling a fantasy-friendly running back over the years. And there's 2 reasons behind that. First of all, Allen loves to run in his own right. Only Lamar Jackson has more rush attempts than Josh Allen since 2018. But it's not even that. It's how often he can find the end zone. Here's a full list of players with more rushing touchdowns than Josh Allen since he entered the league in 2018. Derrick Henry, Todd Gurley, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Christian McCaffrey, and Melvin Gordon. That is it, people. And that's, more than Ezekiel Elliott, more than a lot of starting running backs around the league. For Josh Allen to literally be 9th in rushing touchdowns since he came into the league, absolutely ridiculous. And because of this, Bills running backs have the NFL's 4th fewest total rush attempts inside the 10-yard line since 2018. Additionally, reason number 2, Josh has been bad for business, bad for running back fantasy business, is that he really refuses to check the ball down. No quarterback has a lower check down rate than Josh Allen among 50 qualified players since 2018. Patrick Mahomes has the 2nd lowest check down rate. I don't know. Seems like king shit if you ask me. Either way, I mean, just look, historically, rushing quarterbacks aren't good for fantasy running backs. And, Andrew Erickson, who's on this podcast every Wednesday, wrote a great article over on PFF.com recently about this phenomenon. Basically, when they're inside the 10-yard line, we now have an extra party that is at risk of scoring rushing touchdowns on their own, or just when they're passing, they don't check the ball down because they're mobile and they usually scramble instead. So that's why we see Alvin Kamara eating targets from Drew Brees, and why I'm concerned if that's going to be the case with more Taysom Hill under center. So just like how the Bills running backs have the 4th fewest total rush attempts inside the 10-yard line since 2018, in terms of targets, they also have the 4th fewest over the past 3 seasons. So again, nothing exactly against Singletary or Moss. It should just be hard for any 2 running back committee to thrive in Buffalo with the way things are set up. And that is what we have seen over the years. In 2018, LaShawn McCoy finished as the PPR RB39. Chris Ivory was the RB65. 2019, Singletary was the RB33. Frank Gore, the RB50. And as I said before, 2020 Singletary RB32, Moss 48. To be fair, Singletary got the RB33 finish in 2019 in just 12 games. He was the RB28 on a per game basis. So if you want to give him that, go ahead. Either way, we have not seen anybody pull off anything resembling an RB2 finish over the past 3 years. So with all that said, takes us to our PFF Lilly stat. Only Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton have more designed rush attempts inside the 10-yard line than Josh Allen over the past 3 years, because someone brought up a good point on Twitter. I wrote about Josh Allen recently too, and I was looking through his 2018, 2019 highlights, and my goodness, was he fun to watch. Obviously, Bills fans and football fans should be probably happier that the 2020 version emerged, but man, the DGAF YOLO ball version of Josh, the same guy throwing up, pass to his double covered fullback in overtime of a playoff game, lateraling it over his head to a tight end, 5 minutes before that in the game. That guy just was not great for his running backs, which we've been over, but it's not just that it's not just Josh Allen's like YOLO ball attitude that caused him to have all these rush attempts. Again, only Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton, basically the 2, archetypes, along with Kyler Murray, for just like the most lethal rushing quarterbacks in today's NFL. Those are the only guys being used more than Josh Allen there. So I wonder, people, any day, really any day, maybe after this season, Josh Allen is going to get a massive contract extension from the Bills. And I'm not convinced he's going to keep scoring 8+ rushing touchdowns every single year into perpetuity. Josh Allen is responsible for 3 of the 12 seasons of a quarterback having at least 8 rushing touchdowns since 2000. Like, it's not normal for this to happen. And the fact it has happened hasn't helped the running backs. I'm just not so sure we're going to see that moving on. And I think what that concludes me to believe is that we should be taking a chance on Zack Moss at his current ADP. He is my RB30 right now, sitting at underdog as the RB36. Singletary has an ADP as the RB47. I am treating him as that. Basically, and this is a great, I helped kind of confirm my reasoning with all this thanks to Joe Buscalagia. Sorry for butchering your name, man. I have an awful last name. You think I'd be better at these type of things. But anyway, works for The Athletic. He wrote a great article. He's a beat writer, but he went and took a fantasy view on everything. And basically, what he was talking about, and I mentioned this before, Moss was playing injured a lot last year. And actually, in 8 games where injuries weren't a factor, Moss was the lead back. And this was Joe's conclusion. Moss can take over the backfield in 2021 if he continues to improve, which could be a 60 to 70% snap player in the Bills' case. And redraft his 9th round cost is entirely worth the price of admission if you wind up with the starting back on a prolific offense. That's the exact point, everyone. If Zack Moss was going as a top 20 back, no, we wouldn't be in on him. I just gave you, 10 minutes worth of reasons why it's a not so fantasy friendly situation in Buffalo, but we don't have to draft him as a top 24 back. We get to draft him at a floor that we've even seen Singletary be over the past 2 years. And I think we can agree based on Moss's, better 3-down chops and just kind of what the Bills and, what guys like Joe are telling us, Moss has the chance to take over this backfield, not Singletary. And we saw this come to fruition last year when Moss missed time, and Singletary, while in 2019 and in past years, when Frank Gore was out or just kind of being moved out of the offense in general, Singletary did get those snap hikes. But in 2020, people, they really just used TJ Yeldon more and more when Moss was out of the picture. Credit to Singletary for being the guy in the playoffs. But again, what worth is 86% snaps if he's only getting 10 touches out of it? Like, snaps correlate with touches 9 times out of 10. Singletary has been the exception to the rule. And I do expect Matt Breida to more or less fill that TJ Yeldon role. Third running back, might not even be active week to week. But if Moss misses time, I do think it's just going to be more of a 2-back committee with Breida getting a lot of extra run as opposed to Singletary taking the hell over. So Moss, I like it, people. He presents a unique opportunity to get the lead running back from an elite offense at an affordable cost. I'm in. You should be too. And this is an ideal, 0 RBS strategy. I would take Moss ahead of the Buccaneers running backs, ahead of the artist formerly known as James RB1's son, ahead of A.J. Dillon. I just think his ceiling is actually as a top 20, top 15 RB if Josh Allen can chill the hell out a little bit and we see Singletary take a true back seat. So all in on Zack Moss at cost in 2021. People, I hope you enjoyed the PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. And I just invite you all to check out the rest of our PFF content over at PFF.com, particularly the PFF College Football Preview Magazine. Just came out on June 28th. You get 600 plus pages of analysis, the best returning players for all 130 teams, advanced scheme breakdown, strength of schedule, win projections, and much more. And again, that's available with any PFF College or PFF Edge subscription. Get it now for less than $8. And if you like fantasy football and if you like playing fantasy for money, you need to check out Underdog Fantasy. I had someone message me today on Twitter asking where to get my ranks, and you can get all of them on PFF.com with a PFF Edge annual subscription. Now, the key, instead of spending $40 on that, is just to go to Underdog, deposit $10 using promo code PFF, and you'll get that free PFF Edge annual subscription. Hopefully you can use the subscription, make that $10 back and much, much more. Again, promo code PFF, go draft now at Underdog Fantasy. All right, people, one quick thing I want to get off my chest, and hopefully I don't piss off the rest of you. Fantasy analysts might be listening to this, but that's just life in the big city sometimes. Why is everyone so obsessed with getting verified on Twitter? And I'm not sitting here pissed off that I haven't been. I have not applied to be verified. They'd probably be like, well, you can't do this without a picture of yourself on Twitter. I just fail to see it's a check mark, right? That's it. you don't get anything. You don't have this like newfound pull over people. People see a check mark and just know it's you. I mean, this is me, people. I'm Ian Hartitz. There actually is a burner on Twitter. I think it's called like Ian Hartitz's burner or something. That is fake. It's not me. And I think it's pretty clear. Like if you're Adam Schefter, if you're Ian Rappaport, I get it. If you're a reporter, it makes sense to me. But come on, just the amount of moaning and groaning I see from people who aren't getting verified. Chill out. Who cares? What benefit are you getting from getting verified? It's like the most, I don't know. It's like MySpace top frenzy. Like chill out, quit worrying about it. Help focus on, actually providing our job, fantasy football analysts. Who cares about getting verified? If you're good, it'll probably come. And if it does come, again, I just don't see the big hoopla about it all. So, I'm sure some people can turn this around and just say, hey, Ian, you're pissed that you're not verified yourself. Please believe me here when I say that is not the case. But whatever, I guess it's not hurting anything. Either way, that's my rant for the episode. So thank you as always for tuning in to PFF Fantasy Football Podcast. New episodes every single day, and we'll continue to have those throughout the summer. Going to be starting things up here soon next week, which will be fun with a team preview series as well with my guy Andrew Erickson. We're going to go through divisions. There'll be like an extra hour podcast during the week with Andrew and I doing 4 teams per. I think it's fun having these podcasts every day. If you enjoy them, then you can keep listening to them. I'm not going to go too crazy though and start getting, 2 podcasts every single day of the week, but who knows? It is a long summer after all. As always, content available on pff.com. Check me out on Twitter @iHeartIts. Thank you as always for tuning in. And until next time, take care, everybody.